Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all the nations, and then shall the end come. Kol halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakahak Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. Now more so than ever, the 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations that look like those heathen nations, the Israelite foreigners. And to the few Akwath, that being the sisters that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And hold on, let me close this door. It's locked. Because the biggest, spoilest dog in the world want attention 24/7. Somebody got him thinking he's a child. But nevertheless, the Lord is beginning to visit the world that he created. All right, you got two things going on in the Middle East, or the so-called Middle East. You got things, because that's just Western Asia. You got, and one of them being the Suez Canal, all right, which the Lord has put the spirit on the Houthis to do what they're doing, and they're disrupting commerce big time, which is going to drive the prices of everything up. I mean, everything. All right, when you're looking at food, at medicines, at gas, petrol, fuel, I mean, you name it, it's all in danger of being, driven to very, very high prices. Okay, because one of the things that's happening is that shipping companies are starting to go the long way around, all right, coming from India and from China, et cetera, and going the long way around Africa instead of cutting through the Suez Canal to get to the ports in the Mideast where everything gets distributed into the, or the so-called Mideast, to get up to near Jerusalem and get to the to go to Europe, because they come through the Suez Canal, go right into the Mediterranean and go into Europe. What's happening is they're having to take the long way around. All right, go all the way down past Madagascar, around the Horn of Africa, back up to the top of Africa. And Africa is a huge continent. All right, the second largest continent. All right, the first one being Asia, of course, because what they fraudulently call the Middle East and Europe are a part of Africa. I mean, are part of Asia. Slovakia, slip of the tongue. All right, that's one gigantic continent, Asia there. And you coming from one end of it, and then you have to go around Africa to get to the other portion of Asia. And it's going to drive prices up crazy, crazy high. All right. Then the second thing you got going on is the Lord is receding the water levels in the Panama Canal. All right. So the Lord is orchestrating the downfall of Esau, Edom, and this present, evil world that they're controlling, that they're ruling. Job 9:24, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. As a matter of fact, let's read 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, the first couple scriptures, and then we're going to play a portion of this redacted video, and then we're going to go to bomb, and both about whistleblowers and information, things being exposed. This one, by the way, is called She's Exposing the Horrifying Truth of Antidepressants, and Big Pharma is not happy. Of course they're not. Especially when you think back to how all that was set up, the use of petroleum-based drugs over natural remedies that still work. All right, that they're tainting a lot of the natural resources and the different ingredients that come naturally. They're tainting them with other things, so they're not, or making them impossible or hard to get. As a matter of fact, I even heard someone say a couple months back that they were trying to take garlic out of the grocery stores, and then I'm sure that, most of the garlic that's in the grocery stores is the organic tainted GMO type stuff. Everything you eat, is been tampered with at this point. Bananas have seeds in it. when is the last time you ate a banana that had seeds in them? All right. Okay. I haven't eaten one with seeds in it since I was in the jungles of Thailand, in the late 80s. Okay. But let's go to that second Ezra. Glad I got to see it too. Because if someone was to tell you, hey, well, bananas have seeds in it, because the bananas in America didn't have seeds in them at the time, they had been far removed. All right. So I never seen a seed in a banana until, I pulled them off those trees and ate them and opened them up like, what's this in the middle of them, But this is 2 Ezra 9 and 1, and it reads, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen Salakia, earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. We truly are in the end of days, the end of Esau's days, the changing of the age, the end of Esau's world, and the beginning of Jacob's. All right. So while everyone else is panicking about these things, the men of the Lord, the elect, the true elect, are excited about it, while the false elect, are fighting to stop it and demonize us in the process, because they know that we are the true threat, and only because we speak the truth and who we are according to blood, because those blessings and those powers are going to go to the true elect of the Lord, and they know it. All right. So without any further ado, Clayton from Redacted.
A number of mass shootings across the United States over the past few decades, and they've all been tragic, but they've all had one thing in common. Can you name it? But if you think about it real hard, you probably wouldn't be able to come up with an answer. Is it skin color? No. There's been white mass shooters, black mass shooters.
About 98, 99% of the mass shooters have been so-called white people. So-called. All right? So those statistics, those numbers, yeah. So, but nevertheless, I digress.
Asian mass shooters, that has nothing to do with it. In fact, the mainstream media would love to keep this entirely quiet, but they do all have one thing in common. They've all been on antidepressants, SSRIs, something that the mainstream media and Big Pharma don't want you to know about. Why are we not being told about this? We'll get to the bottom of that. Our next guest is a leading global drug safety advocate. Her name is Kim Witzak. She's become involved in this issue when her husband tragically suddenly died due to an undisclosed side effect of an antidepressant. She's now on the FDA advisory committee, and she's made it her mission to educate all of us about these dangers. Kim, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's such an important issue, and I think it's probably informative for our audience. First of all, it's amazing to hear that you're on the FDA advisory committee now, and that just made my head spin when I first heard that. But I think it's informative for our audience to kind of go back and really set the stage here and how you got involved in this. Can you tell us what happened to your husband specifically? I think you call yourself an accidental advocate now. Can you kind of walk us back and paint a picture for us?
Sure. Well, I call myself the accidental advocate because I never chose to do this work, and sometimes our greatest purposes choose us. And I was married.
I have to agree with that. The Lord directs your paths. Regardless, you think that you're making a decision to become a doctor, to become an electrician, to become an athlete. The Lord chooses your path, just like He chooses who's going to come into this truth and who's going to wake up to the truth and understand it. All right, because the men of the Lord came from all walks of life. Some were doctors and athletes and other things of that nature. Entertainers and singers, rappers. Drug dealers and thugs. They came where the Lord brought them to this point. All right. So so the Lord controls all actions and everything that we do. All right. The whole self-will thing. is a myth. And so she was meant to do this because the scriptures say so. That Esau has to be against Edom, and Esau has to be made bare. Right? That's I believe Jeremiah 49. Esau's been made bare. I'll find that, but nevertheless, let us continue.
Back in 2003 to my best friend, my husband of 10 years. And on August 6, 2003, I got a call that forever changed my life. My dad called to tell me that my husband was found hanging from the rafter of our garage, dead at age 37.
Wow, 37-year-old man hanging himself in a rafter in his own garage, man, after taking some crazy-ass drug that had him bugged out of his mind. But this is Jeremiah 49:10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. All right, so Esau's being made bare. And like I will continue to say, one of the main enemies of Esau, the curses are now falling on him. Deuteronomy 30:7 is his own woman. Job 27:15. It's some of the most damning and condemning information that's coming out about the wicked. All right, because remember, there are three classes of people in the world: the sons of God, who are the Israelites. All right, the sons of men, who are the heathens, the other nations. All right, and then the sons of the wicked, who is Esau, Edom. All right, and she, being of Esau, Edom, is against her own man now. All right, evidently. All right, with the way that they come against them and the way that they collectively are lying with Jake and other heathens, men of color. All right.
And Woody wasn't depressed. Woody had no history of depression or any other mental illness.
Damn.
Woody had just started his dream job with a startup company and was having trouble sleeping. And Woody was a guy who needed 8 hours of sleep. And, he wasn't getting 8 hours of sleep. So he, as a lot of people did and do, he went to his doctor because he was having trouble sleeping. And Woody was, I always called him like the Humpty Dumpty, the doctors put him back together. He was an athlete. And so he did, he just did what he would have done, which is like, hey, doc, I'm not sleeping. And the doctor gave him a 3-week sample pack of an antidepressant, Zoloft, and told him it would take the edge off and help him sleep.
So instead of just getting him some over-the-counter sleeping pills, hell, just doing what Jake does. You just take some NyQuil, and you'll knock right out. All right. But yeah. So this man who's 37 years old, his wife knows him well, apparently, and he had just got his dream job, and they had the house and everything going on. He was doing good, and all of a sudden he took this thing and offed himself. But this is Job 13:4, and it says, "But ye are forgers of lies; ye are all physicians of no value." You cannot. These people are not about healing people. They're about getting you hooked on their drugs and selling them to you. Drugs that can change the composition of your body, change the way you think, that tamper with your mind, and drugs that just mask your issues instead of fixing you. All right, you mask the pain, but the issue never goes away. It just spreads and gets worse. And then more drugs and new drugs or stronger versions of it, which have a detriment on your mind, on your nervous system, on your body. All right. And they were well aware of this in the 1930s when all these people started getting cancer from using petrol-based, drugs, petroleum-based drugs. All these people started getting cancer, but then J.D. Rockefeller bought out the newspapers and the media, and you had control over the medical books, and well, there you have it. And that's fact. That's something you can look up. That's not dis or miss information. Anyone who would say that is, quite frankly, a liar. They're a liar. This information is well known. You can research it yourself from credible sources. All right.
And I happened to be out of the country during those first 3 weeks that he was put on the drug. We both traveled for our careers, and I was down in New Zealand on an advertising production. So I wasn't there when Woody first got put on these drugs and the dosage changed. But I will never forget when I came back to back home, and I was excited to see him. And I'll never forget, he walked through our back door. He was in a blue dress shirt, like completely drenched through. It fell on the floor, and with his hands around his head. And he's like, Kim, you got to help me. I don't know what's happening to me. It's like my head's outside my body looking in. He's rocking back and forth, bawling. And I had never seen this before. And I remember we calmed him down and we like, let's pray, let's breathe, let's, whatever this thing was. And he called his doctor, somebody who he's seen for years. And the doctor said, you got to give it 4 to 6 weeks to kill.
So his doctor was a piece of shit. Because the end result is that, this man ended up hanging from his own rafters. And his wife was out of the damn country at work when it happened. Okay? So his doctor didn't give a shit about him, man. And they always trying to use a pseudoscience to get around the Lord. And you still got dumbass people, especially Babylonians, that subscribe to it. This is, and Timothy warned us. This is 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. All right. So they're using pseudoscience, fake science. All right. On the people. Because the word science simply means to know. That's what it means. It simply means to know. So if you're guessing at something, all right, and it has side effects, what that means is there's too many things that you don't know. All right. That means that you haven't perfected the formula. Because if a formula have this side effect, that side effect, and one of them is suicides and thoughts of death, then clearly your formula is beyond flawed. But yet, you put that on the market and you give it to your citizens and you give it to people. This man is anti-life. All right. And he's being exposed, and I wouldn't be shocked if, even though everything I've said no lies or give no myths or disinformation in this video, they might actually take it down and give me a strike or something and say exactly that. But let's go on to the next story. All right. Also dealing with medical stuff. All right. This is a bombshell. This Amalekite here, this young doctor, 33 years old. All right. Whistleblower exposes Texas hospital horrors. Fed targets hero doctor now. Which I can believe that. All right. Because if you come against them or expose them, they don't like that. I've been living a nightmare for almost 5 years fighting against a very powerful fraud. Okay. from when you're dealing with people who have billions, they'll do anything to protect that fraud. Okay.
And will allow doctors to be able to do this to children on a large scale. And I believe it can be simplified to really 2 important things. First was this prioritization of ideology over evidence. And then second was...
Ideology over evidence. Now, what does that sound like? That's like when we read the scriptures and we tell you that this man and people like him, the Amalekites, are indeed, there are Amalek of the nation of Edom, and that they're occupying Israel and that they control the world, all right, because they're the first of the nations. The evidence proves that. But their ideology is their Judaism, their religion, and all the other stuff that they do. And the fact that they control sources of information. So they, stuff like this just gets drowned, and then all their stuff gets put to the top. Well, that's all coming to an end. All right, but that was very important what he said. And and these hand gestures that he keeps making, I find interesting too. All right, but he did say ideology over evidence. It's just like when you deal with the C-19 thing. All right, the evidence showed you one thing that the ideology did not. All right, and the end result was sudden deaths and myocarditis and all kind of other issues.
The censorship of anyone who questioned that ideology with the presentation of evidence.
One of the things...
How dare you come in here with truth and shit? All right?
I found was particularly telling at about the 50-minute mark. of the interview was that Dr. Heim noted that all of these allegations were baseless. Health and Human Services federal agents showed up to his house the day that he was supposed to graduate from medical school, a day that his family had come into town for, that he and his wife Shirley had been planning for and hoping for, etc. They picked their timing, and they always do. Don't play ball with the feds.
Health and Human Services also control Title 4D. So it's not about the welfare of children or people at all. It's about them, their money-making schemes. Point blank, period.
Always pick their timing, and they picked it to intimidate him and to try and silence him. Ultimately to get him to shut up, and accused him of things that had no factual support, no basis whatsoever, accused him of violating HIPAA, which if you look at everything that was leaked in the original post from the journalist who interviewed him, all of the information that was leaked and posted, whether it was surgery schedules or whatever, it had the identifying information for patients that was blacked out. It couldn't be seen. So this is something, by the way, that we routinely do in medicine. Any healthcare provider, nurse, doctor, whoever, who is part of ongoing education, clinical education, case study review is part of this. And in every case study review, if you're evaluating patients, you're going to have information about the patients. But for instance, their name and their date of birth and identifying features about them, all of these things will be scrubbed to protect their identity. And all of this had been done. So the accusation that he had been acting.
So she's a perfect person to bring out this exposure. Once again, Job 27:15. All right. Because she is a nurse, and she's been in the medical field for quite some time. So she understands a lot and understands the medical terms and the procedures. So she's a perfect candidate to do this expose on the wickedness that was being done by the men of her and her people, her own people. All right, which she can't seem to grasp that portion of it. All right. But Job 9:24, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. They covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So who covered up, the face of the people of the Lord and put up images that looked like, her skin tone all over Europe, and brought those images here to the Americas? Well, that would be the wicked. All right.
In defiance of HIPAA protocol. This is all BS. It's total BS. They trumped this thing up to try and intimidate this man, and then used and weaponized the federal government's long arm of justice, i.e. the legal system, and all of the money that you and I, the taxpayers, are forced to fork over each year.
And I'm willing to bet too, all right, because I disagree and agree with her on a lot of things, all right? Because, I'm not willing to bet. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of those things that they're using against this doctor are codes and statutes that are not lawful anyway. They're not using the actual law against him. They're using their codes and their statutes. They're operating. So what they're doing is they're committing treason. All right. They're what they're doing is breaking the law. They're not using the constitutional law to judge this man. They're using their statutes and their codes, which are not lawful, because their statutes and their codes, which is maritime law. That yellow flag, those fringes that around the that go around the flag, those fringes represent maritime law, and American citizens are not under maritime law. Okay, they're not, and it's actually illegal to put an American citizen under a foreign treaty. And I'm not going to stop saying it because it's fact.
That's what Dr. Heim, essentially, that's the purse that he has been forced to fight against. Our money that has been taken, that's what's being used to bankrupt him in his legal defense. So the feds, they do this. And why are they doing this right now? Because the Biden administration's people are in full tilt retard mode, trying to gear up for the election. They can't justify the position because they are attempting to get us into more foreign wars. Their economy has absolutely tanked. They have an abysmal rating when it comes to approval. And so the only way that they can try and justify themselves is to put themselves up as some type of beacon of success.
Or what's righteous, and they're far from it. This is Obadiah 1:6. How are the things of Esau searched out, and how are his hidden things sought up? Through the Bible being filtered, through the scriptures, through the men of the Lord. and everything's falling in place. Like I said, Job 27:15. One of the number one things that's exposing Esau Edom in these last moments of his kingdom is his women. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah Kodash, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom.